This moon is kind of standing in front of us saying there's a deeper truth to you. That's garbage in your life. That's no longer in alignment. Don't lie to yourself. Don't deny who you truly are. Don't pretend that that relationship still fits when it doesn't. That's this moon. So this full super moon on October 17th in the sign of Aries is fire to the face. It's a truth bombing full moon. So let's go into why this is. I'm going to give you a bunch of practices and a bunch of different ways to work with this. I think we start just with this overall, what is the point of this one? Like, what can we really get out of it? How can we work with it? For me, this is a moon of alignment. It is an amazing opportunity the couple days before the moon, couple days after the moon, to really get into deeper alignment with our original essence, your original essence, like the essence of you. Like for me, it would be like the essence of Sabrina, Sabrina without falsity, Sabrina without masks, Sabrina without people pleasing, Sabrina without limits, Sabrina without absorbed conditioning, Sabrina, soul Sabrina. That's maybe a practice that you want to try with yourself. Like use your first name. And it's really, this is a moon for that. Let's talk a little bit more about what else this moon can really illuminate for us. Full moons are illuminating. They're revelatory. They shine a light, right? So illuminating, illuminating path forward in relationships. That's something you might want to meditate on, journal on, have a conversation with a soul friend on. Illuminating your highest, greatest, truest. True is a really good word for this full moon. Truest path forward with regards to relationships. The sun is conjunct Juno, goddess of marriage, for this full moon. Perfectly conjunct Juno for this full moon. Not only that, but this moon falls on the relationship axis. It's loud. Relationships, we are not going to get away from relationships during this full moon. I know we just came out of an eclipse season that was like hammering boundaries, codependent patterns, right? Overly independent patterns, hammering us with what is your deep truth in relationship? What are you really called to create in relationship? Do your current relationship still fit? This full moon is more of that. I know. All right, let's talk a little bit more about overall how we can really get the most out of this full moon. This full moon can be really, really good for, let me feel how to get into these words. You know, when you kind of like hit the mark with life just being in flow. Like you hit the mark with, you've made a choice or you've done something and it just makes you feel so aligned. I like these words, alive and aligned. These are great words for this full moon. Alive and aligned, like my most alive and aligned life. That's what this full moon is trying to get us to. Now, it might do some really interesting shit to get us there. That's what we'll talk about in a minute. But if we can kind of keep our eye, so where focus goes, energy flows. Remember that. Where focus goes, energy flows. Where your consciousness goes, your life force flows to it. What does that mean? That means that if we can keep our focus, your attention on this amazing opportunity to align with a deeper truth in self. That's it. This whole week around this full moon, align with a deeper truth in self, align with deeper truth in my relationships, align with deeper truth in meaningful endeavors, align with deeper truth in my full expression of myself, align with deeper truth in my sexuality, everything in life, align with the deeper truth in what I'm actually here to fucking do. Like align with the deeper truth in what really lights me up, not just what falsely, fakely lights me up or what I've been told would make me happy, but what genuinely, uniquely makes me come to life. Genuinely and uniquely, right? Makes me feel alive and aligned. That's what we want to keep our focus on. So I'm going to go into a bunch of stuff now, but remember, everything that's lining up is pointing us toward getting into deeper alignment, right? I'm going to go through some archetypal energies like Eris, goddess of chaos and discord. Yeah, could be throwing chaos bombs in our life. could be throwing mad discord, mad disruption of stuff to get us into deeper alignment. And it's almost like, instead of walking into it like, how bad is this gonna be? It's more like walking into it like, thank you for the shake up to wake up. You know, like thank you for this amazing alignment that's going to burn down. I think burn is a good word because everything's in Aries right now, right? Like this full moon is in Aries, Eris is in Aries. We're square Mars. Mars is very associated with like fiery, passionate. And so it's like burn down the false. Okay, so alive and aligned. All of this points to that. All right, let's take a quick pause. Let me just ask you a quick question. Right now, really quickly, just feel like whatever the first kind of feel is, or whatever the first vision is, or whatever the first words that bubble up are. What is out of alignment in your life? It's just a really good opportunity in this moment. Like, what is out of alignment in your life? And just whatever it is that comes up. Like for me, it's where I live. It's out of alignment. I've been talking about that in videos now for a little while, so it's not like new news for anybody if you've been hanging out for a little bit. But that's a great question to ask yourself. What's out of alignment? And watch for where things don't flow. Watch for where things feel disruptive. They feel chaotic. They feel in discord. Watch for it. Because literally Eris is giving you like the greatest guidance ever. But she'll do it through, this just isn't working. This just isn't flowing. This is just chaotic. This is just disruptive. But she's pointing to where things are not in alignment in your life.'t that great? See how good this is when we can like look at it, you know, where focus goes, energy flows, and we can look at it from that high vantage point of everything that's going to happen this week is going to be pointing to something. It's going to be pointing to something where I can recalibrate, I can make a pivot in life, or something can be revealed. Full moons, they're revelatory. They reveal. And just think about this. This is revealing you to yourself. It's revealing your authentic self to yourself. Isn't that great? It's revealing. Now, some of it's going to stay, some of it's going to burn. It's not going to feel good because some of it's going to reveal your authentic self to yourself. And you're going to go, wow, my authentic self actually doesn't even fit in this relationship. Wow, my authentic self, I've snuffed out so that I could eke my way through this shitty job. Wow, my authentic self, I've had to totally dim it down, dull it down so that I could fit in this family dynamic, and it's just not fucking working anymore. That's a little bit of the fiery, spicy stuff in this full moon. All right. Let's dive in. I'm going to go through the aspects now, and we'll talk about the big archetypes, and I'm going to give you some more practices as we make our way through this. Okay, so let's feel Aries. We have to talk a little bit more about Aries. So this full moon is taking place in Aries. Aries is that sign of self. It is a very pioneering sign. It is a very out in front sign. It is a very confident sign. It's also kind of like a sovereign, self-independent kind of an energy. So the moon, right? Moon, full moon, that's like our emotional nature is in this like independent, fiery, me, self, this is what I came here to do. This is who I am. This is the direction I need to move forward in my life. See what that brings up for you, or what kind of practices or rituals that kind of sparks or inspires. Something I do think that's beautiful that offsets this a little bit is that the sun, so when the moon is in Aries and it's a full moon, the sun is in Libra. So the moon is saying self, me, pioneering, right? Independent nature. The sun is opposite that in Libra, balance, harmony, relationships. Can you feel? Just feel. And when they're opposing each other, there's this innate like push-pull. There's like a tug of war kind of going on between me versus we, self versus other. Maybe you heard some of that during the last eclipses that were just going on over the last couple months, the last 2 months. That's still happening, that push-pull, me versus we. So lots of things can be coming up around boundaries. cleaning up boundaries. That might be something that sparks some ideas, or you want to dive deeper into that or reflect on that. Our codependent patterns, our overly independent patterns, and our interdependent patterns. Like, where are we at in relationship? What's kind of, think about Eris, right? That discord, chaos, like what's not working? What's a little chaotic? What's a little disharmony, discord? That'll point to things in that theme. So now let's talk a little bit more about the sun in Libra. So the sun in Libra is also perfectly conjunct Juno. This is goddess of marriage. Like, how good is this? I mean, this is just hilarious to me. It's hilarious. We have the moon conjunct Eris in Aries, like me, truth, chaos for truth, don't care, need to be true, authentic self and do my thing in the world. And then we have the sun, right? Opposite in Libra, harmony, balance, right? Flow with Juno, goddess of marriage, goddess of long-term commitment. Y'all, this is just good. This is good. So feel into what that sparks for you. Like what comes up for you, because this will flow into your life very differently than it will flow into mine, right? It's perfectly designed for each of us, but just really feel into for you, like self and other, right? Me and we. And what have been themes that have been going on for you around that? What have you been asked to clean up? You could say something like that. Clean up, or come into, next right relationship with, or evolve into, right? Like, my boundaries are evolving, right? They're becoming healthier. My codependent patterns are evolving into interdependent patterns where I'm really whole. Like, I am a sovereign self, and I'm coming into this both and place, right? This mystical truth of both and, not either or. It's not either me or we. It's the mystical truth, the spiritual truth, like the actual reality of it is that it is me and we. It's the both and, not the either or, right? It's wild. So this can be really trippy. This can be really beautiful. We've been in that energy over the eclipse season on this relationship axis of Aries and Libra. This full moon brings more to it. It's like we haven't gotten it quite yet. The nodes of fate are still in that axis. They're still on that axis. I think it's one of the dark goddesses is on the south node. Who's on the south node? I really liked it. Yeah. Medusa. Medusa is still conjunct the south node. So the nodes of fate are your destiny line. True north, where you're headed to in this lifetime. You could say soul's purpose. Like, where you came from is south node, where you're headed to is north node. Those nodes of fate are still on this Aries Libra axis. The eclipse seasons point to those nodes of fate still being on this Aries Libra axis. So it's kind of like, it's getting hotter and more intense now of, all right, last swipe, I really want you to get this before these nodes shift signs. Right? Because the nodes of fate will shift signs. So that's like the destiny. That's destiny. They'll shift signs and it'll be different lessons, right? It'll be different lessons. It'll be a different focus. But right now it's on this me, we. Plus with Pluto going into Aquarius, it's so much about me, we. And Pluto is up in the mix in this moon. So that adds even more of self, Capricorn, group, Aquarius. Isn't that interesting? It is a lot about this, and it can be really tricky to get into this territory. It can be hard to get into this territory. So I just want to honor that. If your brain is kind of like, what? In this conversation, that's okay. That's okay. There's also like a whole nother conversation happening that's beyond just the words. I know that might sound a little bit too woo-woo for some of us, and that's okay. That's okay too. Anything that doesn't resonate, chuck it in the fucking bucket, right? We are all good. All right, let's move on. We'll keep talking these different aspects that are going on. All right, so that's enough on the Aries Libra axis. I think if there's anything else that I want to share on that, nope, let's just leave it at that. So those two are opposing, right? Now, here's where it gets even spicier. Squaring them is Mars on one side. Squaring them on the other side is Pluto. It doesn't get any better than this. It just doesn't get any. So this creates a grand cross. Now, Mars is in a pretty tight square, right? It's a pretty tight T square to the sun and the moon. I'll talk about what that means in a minute. Pluto's a little bit further away, but still active. Still active in this grand cross. All right, so let's talk about Mars first. We've already got all these Aries energy, this fiery, passionate, like warrior, right? Warrior, pioneering. I oftentimes think of Aries as like bull at a gate, action-oriented, move forward, let's do this thing. So I like this energy for breakthrough. There could be some really good breakthroughs going on, like powerful breakthroughs going on. This is another one of those like high level, this is the point of this, is to break through into a truer, more alive and aligned life. Break through into an expression of a truer you. Beautiful, right? Can be hard. Can come with a little bit of what can come with. Let's just give some examples of what this can come with. Why I keep saying it can be hard. Can be some really confrontational conversations, having to have some real challenging conversations, having to set new boundaries with people, having to set boundaries with your family, boundaries with yourself, having to readjust things like that can be tough. We can also see some real shadowy parts about ourselves that we did not want to see. That's that Pluto in that T square to the sun and the moon in that grand cross configuration. That's the shadow. It's the hidden. It's like the icky. Some of the icky stuff that we don't want to see about ourselves can be coming up to the surface, but it's coming up to the surface so that we can shine a light on it so that it can change. Right? It's transformation. So Pluto, yes, he is Lord of the Underworld. Yes, it's the shadow territory. Yes, it's the hidden parts of self. It's the unconscious. It's all that gooey, murky territory. It's also deep transformation. It's also death for rebirth, like that level of deep transformation. That level of deep transformation is alive and well during this full moon, this whole week, right? Powerful, really powerful. Pluto is power. So just know that that's another, it's power. Your relationship to power, power dynamics can be coming up in relationships. Where are you giving away your power? Where are you misusing your power? Not knowing that you're misusing your power, right? Isn't this intense? This is big. It's big, it's big, it's big. I do want to say something that can help is slow it down, because this fiery, like Aries is going to want to go, 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 go. Mars square them is going to want to go. Like, let's power through this. Let's go. Like, any action is fine. We don't care. And if we can slow down and really find that alignment, call upon that alignment within self, right? That Shaolin warrior, right? That heart warrior. You want alignment. Okay, I'm in for taking action. I'm in for taking steps forward, but it's got to come from deep alignment, deep inner truth. That is what this whole full moon setup is for. That deep alignment, deep inner truth. And yes, can very much take steps forward, can very much take action, can very much have these challenging conversations, quit that job, start a new relationship, right? Set some new boundaries for yourself in certain places, right? Draw a line in the sand with yourself for certain things, right? Very much that. But this is the big one. This is the big one. This is where we can get in trouble with this energy. This is the big red flag, the big warning, is to not be like quick, like without checking in with that deep inner alignment. Deep inner alignment, you want to come from wisdom self, heart aligned, soul aligned, right? If I'm heart and soul aligned and this is the direction forward and it seems pretty challenging, or it seems really fiery, or I feel like I kind of got to go to war for myself and my truths and my highest path forward, that's good. That's how we can really, but make it sacred. Like sacred. We want to be sacred warriors in this. Eris is a warrior. She's on the moon. Mars is a warrior. He's square to this full moon. There's warrior energy here. But if we can feel and we can give ourselves permission, sometimes some of us have to give ourselves permission to be a warrior. But it's like you're a warrior. You're a heart and soul aligned warrior. You're a sacred warrior. You're a warrior defending the highest truth for yourself. And some of us have a really hard time going to battle for ourselves, but that's what this full moon is calling for. You fighting for yourself, you fighting for your truth, you fighting for your highest expression in this life, because that's what you're empowered to do during this full moon. That's Pluto empowerment. Pluto empowers you to do this. If you want some help doing this, join membership. We had one of the most amazing workshops ever done in bones, which is what we call membership bones, living close to the bone, like living close to the razor's edge of your truth, right? It's pretty perfect for this full moon. But that workshop is so powerful for empowerment of self, and so powerful for shedding off that which blocks us from that empowerment of self and that taking these deep, soulful, wise, truthful steps forward. So you're like, I don't know how to go to war for myself. Join Bones. Like, just try it out for a month. It's $59, right? You get 8 hours of workshops. Dive in, go for it for a month, or stay longer, stay for life. I know some of you have been in there for years and years and years. And my gosh, I just want to wrap a lot of love around us all for that co-creation of that workshop that happened on the 1st, because it was one of the most powerful ones that I've seen ever happen in our membership. Okay, let me move on and let me keep talking a little bit more. Okay, so that's the Grand Cross that's going on. That in itself is plenty. It's plenty of juice for this full moon. But let's talk about a few more aspects going on. I talked a little bit about Medusa conjunct the South Node. Remember I talked about those nodes of fate? That's your destiny line. It has to do with eclipses. It's on that relationship axis. So the South Node right now is Libra. Medusa on the South Node, that's going to just activate a little more, potentially, past life memories around witch wounds, past life memories around our full sexual expression not being accepted. And it doesn't have to be past life memories. It can just be like deeper parts of self, more hidden. Medusa, as an archetypal energy, as a dark goddess, she points to that which has been repressed or oppressed within ourselves, right? Karma. South Node is a karmic point of the chart. And so it's like pointing to the karma within all of us where we have repressed the deep, wild feminine. Feminine not as gender-based at all. Feminine as in the life force, feminine sexuality, right? Feminine magic, feminine mysticism, deep, ancient, primordial feminine. Medusa points to ancient, primordial feminine and the wisdom held in ancient, primordial feminine. That could be almost an antidote, like almost an antidote to kind of what's going on right now. For some of us, not all of us, you'll be like, I don't know, ancient, primordial, feminine, whatever, Sabrina. Let's go back talking about the warrior, because that was the thing for me. So again, like that piece may or may not be really loud for you. All right, let's move on a little bit. I want to talk a little more about these dark goddesses that are dancing around. And I actually need to pull up the chart for this one. This alignment is something I've been watching for a while now. And if you've been hanging out, I've been talking about this a lot throughout the eclipse season. And I talked a lot about this dance on the South Node, because South Node's kind of gotten swiped by a lot of the dark goddesses. And it was like deep, sacred feminine, like the deep, sacred feminine revealing more of herself to us, right? The deep, sacred feminine in you. And that could just be, because I don't want this to be gender specific. It's always so hard to battle against that, right? It drives me crazy. And it's not any of our faults, right? It's just the way that it is right now. I'll just move on, and maybe I can like try and tease that out in the collective consciousness in a second, but we'll see how this rolls. Actually, no, I want to go into this right now. There are parts of the feminine. It's like, what aspects of the feminine had to go underground to keep their juice, to keep their potency? What parts of the feminine have been demonized, have been ostracized, have been judged in some way? So we had to keep the mystery safe because they were starting to be twisted and they were starting to be manipulated, right? And so we stuff those underground. We put those underground. We put them in hiding. There's a reason why a good portion of the dark goddesses, which is the archetypal energy that I'm about to talk about that's loud in the chart, has been loud in the chart. There's a reason why many of the dark goddesses, they were in their myth originally like beautiful ones. They were beautiful goddesses, right? Beautiful, as powerful as Zeus, as highly revered as Zeus. Like Hekate, as highly revered as Zeus. Then pushed, demonized, right? Demonized and turned into beautiful ones, into old hags, curled in on themselves, witchy, gnarly, nasty, bad. Isn't that wild? And now, in this astrology, in this full moon included, it's like they're saying, really? Really? I am the force of love, motherfucker. I am the force of deep love. I am the force of the mother that can love the unlovable. What you humans cannot love, I can love. And you've demonized me. Interesting. Interesting state of the world at the moment. Okay. Not wild. It's love. I mean, at the bottom of it's love. It's love. And imagine if we were to set these parts of self free, because they're all parts of self. Medusa's a part of you. Hecate's a part of you, just like she's a part of me. Lilith is a part of you. Now, you might not use those words or those archetypal energies to point to those parts of self. Archetypes are like, they're like a map into parts of self. They're like a map to like you, really, you, in all of the different aspects of self. Now I'm getting a little carried away. We're going a little far into archetypes. I know some of you are doing IX, the archetypal immersion, and we're going through like the major archetypes, those major parts of self in an embodied way, and just like deep bow to those of you on that journey. If you're not on that journey, there might be a way to do that at some point coming up. We'll see. Stay tuned. If you're not on our newsletter, you should pop onto our newsletter so this way you can keep up to date. That's where we announce everything that comes out first, right? Anything free or any new podcast episode or any new offering, it always goes out there first. So if you're not in the newsletter, you'll find a link down below to join the newsletter. It's free, of course. And I think like some bonus goodie will come with it. Who knows? All right. Let me stop getting sidetracked by the dark goddess and let me come back to the astrology. So the reason I'm talking so much about this dark goddess energy is that we have Medusa, who's on the south node, 3 degrees away from Hekate and Black Moon Lilith. I won't talk too much more about them, but just know that they're all right there. They're powerful. It's powerful, but it's like hidden power. It's hidden power. Those of you who long to access feminine wisdom, womb wisdom, right? Womb wisdom, hidden feminine wisdom. What's the sacred? What's women's work? What is women's wisdom? That's the dark goddess. It's the dark goddess. It's the mysteries held in the hidden. It's the mysteries held underground. And there are a lot of mysteries, and there is a lot of magic, and there are a lot of parts of self. So when you hear people say like womb wisdom, womb magic, womb healing, or you hear, like sacred ancient feminine or deep primordial feminine and all the gifts that come online when we access that part of self and we awaken to that part of self, it's all real. It's all true. Like it is. And it's louder at this moment. It's louder this moment in time. So then we've got those guys hanging out near the south node. Then we have Kali square to Saturn. This is a big one. So a lot, collectively, a lot of us just sort of feel the dark goddess in like the hidden realms. We're not super conscious of her like we are Venus, Venus, the Venusian lover part of ourselves. We can pretty easily point to her, or the mother, we can pretty easily point to like the mothering aspect of self. But it's very hard for us to point to like, some of us are good at this. I know a lot of you are really good at this. Like the wild woman in you, the wild woman in you, the fierce love, the non-people pleaser, right? This is soul truth. I can love this much. I can love the unlovable. That's a dark goddess territory. That one's a little harder to point to in self, right? Because that part of feminine's kind of been a little bit boo-booed, right? Poo-pooed. Poo-pooed is probably a better way of saying that. All right. So Kali is square to Saturn. Saturn is like the old boys club. Saturn's like the patriarchy. Saturn's also associated with Capricorn, which is the last degree that Pluto's in at the moment. So it's like that part is also just getting hit. Like the dark goddess, right? Kali specifically is ego slayer. Kali specifically is going to look at Saturn and go, no, nah, you don't get to get away with that anymore. Nah, nope. Can you feel that? That's Kali. Like too much ego, too much masculine old boys club shit. That's Kali. And she's conjunct Pallas Athena, warrior. So brings even more juice there. Also Lilith asteroid. So those three are all there square to Saturn. So old boys club's getting bashed. Right? Also, hold on a second. Saturn, I kind of gave you like his shadowy side, right? When I was like old boys club, old school, right? Like old patriarchy, blah. The light side of Saturn, right? The benevolent side of Saturn, even though people call him a malefic, which is fine, but the grace-filled, love-filled side of Saturn is he's like Mr. Miyagi or Gandalf. He's like the wizened wizard old man. He's also like Shiva a bit in that he can hold every single aspect of the feminine, every single aspect of the goddess, right? He can very much bring consciousness to every single aspect of her, right? So he's also, right? He's also pointing back at her saying, no more toxic femininity. She's saying no more toxic masculinity, the three of them. And he's saying, okay, no more toxic femininity, which is even more hidden, which is even harder to point to. The whole world's pointing at toxic masculinity. But it's like we say toxic femininity and everyone's like, oh, you can't say that. Yeah, well, there's a lot of toxic femininity rip-roaring all around the world, right? But it's like more manipulative. It's more sneaky how the feminine misuses power than how the masculine misuses power. He misuses power overtly, like it's right in your face. She misuses it in the undercurrents, underground, manipulative. It's harder to point to. It's more snake-like. Isn't that wild? So they're both asking or throwing bombs at each other, saying, clean it up. Clean it up. I want more of your evolved masculine. He's saying, great, I want more of your evolved feminine. I want more of your evolved. Now think about how this relates to the sun and the moon being on the relationship axis. Think about how this relates to the sun being conjunct Juno, goddess of marriage and long-term commitment. Think about how this relates to the moon being conjunct Eris. You must be your true authentic self in relationship. You must be your true authentic self in all relationships, all how you relate to the world, how you relate to where you came from, how you relate to your lover, how you relate to your friends, how you relate to your family. You must be aligned. You must figure out how to be you in this world with all the connections that you have amidst this bombing the masculine and the feminine within ourselves, right? Clean it up, masculine. All right, clean it up, feminine. So it's basically saying like, how can I clean it up? Direction. Like if we were to feel into the part of us that was the masculine part of us, it's your direction, the direction of your life, your discernment, right? How you take action, what you decide on, your leadership to yourself. You're leading the flow of love and the flow of life force, the feminine. Basically, it's saying, clean it up. I want you to lead me better. That's what she's saying. I want you to lead me better. I want you to make better decisions. I want you to make more love-filled decisions. He's like, all right, I want you to stop closing your heart down and keep the flow of love going. Yeah, we don't like hearing that one, do we? No, I don't like hearing that one. That one sucks. We want to think the feminine is all glorious and great and good, whatever. She will shut that love force down and that life force down just like that. Oh, I'm butt hurt. Oh, you hurt. Oh, my childhood pattern came up. Oh, I need more attention. Oh, I feel like a victim. Oh, and she shuts the life force down. And so he's bombing her saying, I will make better decisions. I will make better decisions, right? I will lead this better. Remember, where consciousness flows, where consciousness goes, energy flows. It's the masculine feminine principle. Really, this is where we've gotten to. Who knew this conversation was going here, right? But what you put your attention on, that's your masculine consciousness. Masculine consciousness, divine masculine is considered to be consciousness. Energy flows. Energy is the feminine, right? So where you're focusing on is where your love flows. Now, right? Now make better decisions on where your focus goes. That's what she's saying. Make better decisions on where your focus goes. Make better decisions on how you lead the ship, how you lead your life. Make better decisions. Give us a better container. Right? Make better decisions, lead better. Container, masculine is container, creates containers for the enormous flow of life. My home is a container. ReWilding is a container for me. My family is a container. My friends are a container. These are containers. They're containers where the love can then flow. The love can flow, and I get to decide on the containers that I create, and I get to decide on how much time I spend in each of these containers. But then on the feminine side, well, how open are we to life force and love? How much do we shut down? How much do we withhold? How much flow of life do we let move through us in our work, in our relationship, in our lovemaking, in our raising our babies? And every time we shut down a little bit, right? Because maybe we were triggered into an old family pattern, we catch it. We catch it and we go, I'm going to change this pattern and I'm going to be able to stay in love. Pretty wild, huh? Okay, wow, I think that's it. Venus is at the last degree of Scorpio. She's in a sextile to Pluto. So Venus, last degree of Scorpio, that means the lover in us is also a little bit in the underworld, brings up a little bit more of the dark goddess in her, the dark aspect. Later on that day of the full moon, she shifts into Sagittarius. So after this full moon, like, let it be deep, let it go wild, like, let ourselves like deepen into what is true, what is authentic for ourselves, right? Go into any of these things that I've talked about, make them practices. Ask yourself some of these journal questions, have a conversation with a soul friend, send this video to a friend, say, hey, watch this, like, what sparks for you? Let's talk about what sparks for you. And then go into deeper truth, deeper truth, deeper truth, deeper truth. Have a confession time. I got to confess to you, my relationship is not really feeling that good right now. I got to confess to you, my job is feeling like it is stifling me. I got a confession. You want to have confessions, even if it's not with someone, maybe just with yourself, right? It's a truth bombing full moon getting us into deeper alignment. All of the things I talked about, remember, I said this at the start, all of the things I talked about, it is about that. Getting us into a more alive and aligned life in all areas of our lives. So feel into what practices sing to you, what sort of journal prompts really sing to you. Get creative with us. Get wildly creative with us. So then a little bit after the full moon happens, we're going to feel a little bit of a reprieve. Venus is going to move into Sagittarius. That's like a Jupiter energy. That's grace-filled energy. It's going to feel expansive. She's coming out of the underworld into a little bit more expansive. Jupiter, who's also very benevolent and expansive, is in a 2.5 to Mercury. That's the mind. So that happens right just after this full moon. So it's going to be like big revelatory. And then it's going to like loosen and lighten a little bit. And so let that support you too. All right. I would love to see you in Bones. There's also a retreat happening. It's a priestess training retreat. It's 5 days here in California, 2025. We announced in our last video. If diving into light worker, being a channel for grace, being a hollow bone for love and light to move through you in whatever form or fashion sings to you, that's the retreat for you. That's the ReWilding retreat for you. And that's the only one that we're doing in 2025 that is of that grace channel, that light worker theme. That's really the only, we call it I call it priestessing, right? You're priestessing. You're letting love and light move through you. You're becoming a hollow bone, a channel for grace. And maybe that's in your family. Maybe that's into art. Maybe that's into your one-on-one therapy sessions with other people. Maybe that's into, what you write or how you talk on a podcast or on a YouTube video to other people. That training is happening. California, it's open. I think it's about 1/3 of the way full at this point. There's an early bird special going on. So if you haven't seen that, those details are there. Again, that's the only event, the only program online and in person, that is in person, that we're holding in 2025 for that theme. So if any of that ever has sung to you, that's the one to get in on. All right. Massive love to you. Happy full moon. And just like, I just want to feel for a quick moment, if this feels okay for you, to just sit tight for a quick moment and feel into like deep true self, deep true self, deep true self, deep true self. Here's a practice. I really like doing this central column, my central column. There's a central column that runs from the base of your spine all the way up through the crown of your head. My central column, and let me sit right in that. Let me sit right in that. And let me feel into every area of my life from this place of deep alignment. Deep alignment. That is an access point to like higher self, right? Higher self, your true north, your highest path forward. All right. That would be the practice that I would do a lot around this full moon. Okay. Huge love to you. Maybe I'll see you in Bones. Maybe I'll see you in California at the Priestess Retreat, or maybe I'll see you in the comments below. I'm always there for the first couple of days. All right. Massive love to you. Just super, super grateful for everything that we get to create together.